Sarah, can we replay the recording?
The recording has now started.
Great. So we'll now move back into the open session to continue the meeting. And I will now... oh, sorry, did you want to continue? Yeah.
I've got some of my reps to say. I was initially hoping that we could watch part of the video and then talk, but I could see for technical reasons we couldn't. So if it's okay, I'll just continue with my reps.
Of course.
Thank you. So following the incident on the 17th of February, arrangements were made for Nick Bailey and Peter Mallock from the local authority licensing team to visit the premises on the 21st of February, meet with Mr. Harris to view the CCTV footage from the incident. No footage could be found in the hard drive. You will note another request for CCTV that was not provided. We now turn our attention to 3 troubling events that took place within a 2-week period. 22nd of October 23, officers attended a report of 50 plus people fighting outside the premises. While there was no fight outside when they attended, several people had been ejected due to issues with them being underage, which had led to a noise and nuisance, which has resulted in the call to police. Nick Bailey later spoke with Mr. Harris after this event, established that a 17-plus event had been at the premises, organised by a member of Neath Rugby Club, which started at 7:30 p.m. There was no SIA door staff at the event. ID checks were allegedly carried out by bar staff. Earlier that evening, police had driven past the beer garden, and footage shows that there were quite a number of people inside the premises. PC Wallen, at Nick Bailey's request, sent a request and an upload link for footage for both the door and the upstairs bar area to Mr. Harris, which PC Wallen did. No footage was provided. This is the 3rd request for CCTV that was not provided. On the 27th of October 23, police were alerted to another underage event taking place at the premises. On attendance, found crowds estimated to be between 300 and 400. That's the lengthy footage we just saw. It transpired that a 16-plus event was held at the premises, marketed as a Halloween event and run by Mr. Keaton Davis, who we understand to be the stepson of the DPS, and Mr. Chris Foote. On officers' attendance, it became clear that neither Mr. Foote nor Mr. Harris had been present. In effect, the premises had been handed over to Mr. Davis to run his event. It was clear that there was no proper control over the ticket sales, and a lot more than expected had turned up. The event was initially ticket only, but during discussions at the event, it became clear that there were, it then went to pay at the door, which attracted people from outside the area. Again, no SIA door staff provision at all. And when a member of staff was asked by PCSO how many had attended, they were told that the clicker had got to 371 before it got too busy to keep count anymore. When Nick Bailey asked Mr. Harris what the capacity of the premises was, he stated he thought it was 150. This would mean that the event was being run at more than double the capacity of the premises as Mr. Harris understood it to be. And we've seen the body-worn footage to show just how busy and chaotic it was. A request was made for footage from the premises. However, it was never forthcoming. The 4th request for CCTV that was not provided. Just 5 days later, on Wednesday, the 1st of November, during a half-term week, a report was received about yet another underage event at the premises. This time, when officers attended, it was clear that an event was taking place. However, they found that both the front and the back doors were locked, preventing them to gain access into the premises. The attending officers felt that this was a clear tactic to prevent officers quickly entering the premises, as we believe that they were aware that there was going to be repercussions about the events from 5 days earlier. Eventually, after hammering on the door for some time, officers were let in by a member of staff. They estimated there were between 100 and 150 people in the premises, some with drinks in hand and with empty bottles strewn everywhere. Bar staff said they'd been checking IDs at the bar before serving anyone, and also saying that they would have needed IDs to get in. Officers asked a number of people inside the premises who they suspected of being under 18, were either drinking what appeared to be alcohol or had alcoholic drinks on the table in front of them for ID, and only one person was able to provide proof of age, despite staff saying they were checking everyone's ID. Once again, no SAA door staff were working, so it's not clear who would have been checking IDs other than bar staff. Inquiries reveal that the person organising the Halloween event was a school pupil, and it was a party for years 12 and 13 at an age range of 16 to 18. Once again, it appears that the premise has been handed over to the organiser, with only staff present being bar staff. When Nick Bailey spoke with Mr. Harris about safety issues of having both doors locked, he said that it had been done to prevent overcrowding as seen on the previous event. And as a former fireman, he understood the doors could be locked if someone was present who had access to unlock the doors if needed. A further request was made for CCTV footage from the event. You will not be shocked to hear that it was not forthcoming, the 5th time that CCTV was requested and not provided. So, to conclude, from this catalogue of adverse incidents, we can conclude several things. Adverse incidents predominantly occur when events are held, rather than the day-to-day running of the premises. There is a routine handing over of control of the premises to unqualified people, leaving events run with no input from either the DPS or the premises licence holder. There is a failure to ensure that anyone under the age of 18 attending the premises does not have access to alcoholic drinks, either purchased or brought into the premises. There's a failure to ensure there is adequate supervision of the premises when licensable activity is taking place. There is a failure to provide a safe environment for those attending the venue by allowing overcrowding. There is a failure on many occasions to provide CCTV footage when requested. This has hampered the investigation into a serious assault and also prevented us from establishing if any licensing offences, such as sales of alcohol to under 18s, have occurred. We can only speculate if the reason for this is to cover up wrongdoing. There's a failure to ensure that staff have sufficient training in the sale of age-related products, and there's a failure to control ingress, egress, or the behaviour of their customers either inside or in the immediate vicinity of the premises when attending events. In short, there is a failure by the premises licence holder and designated premises supervisor to uphold the licensing objectives. You may be surprised to hear we have found no breach of the premises licence conditions. The reason for this is easy to explain. They do not exist. We believe the existing licence is not fit for the purpose that the premises is being used for. The conditions that we would expect to see on a premises that operate in this way are simply not there. I now hand over to my colleague who will discuss the conditions that we would like to see. Thank you.
Are we happy that everybody has seen our proposed conditions, or do you wish me to go through them?
Yeah, I'm happy with what I've seen in the report of the members who are making decisions today. Yep, happy. Yep, fab. Thank you very much. Okay, just a reminder, any questions, we will come on to questions a little bit later. I will now ask the Legal Regulatory Officer to please make their submissions. Diolch.
Thank you, Chair. My representation is included within Appendix 9 of the report. These reviews tend to be submitted where the premises have failed in their responsibilities to promote the licensing objectives. Clearly, the events that occurred on 3 consecutive dates towards the end of October, beginning of November, show the premises were extremely underprepared with limited control measures employed. Myself and Nick Bailey have had several meetings with the licence holders over the last couple of years to discuss complaints and control measures like CCTV and the importance of SAA door supervisors. There is CCTV in place at the premises, however, they are under no legal obligation to use it or provide any footage. They are also under no legal requirement for the premises to have any SAA registered door supervisors. If the conditions proposed are implemented, it will ensure that there are sufficient control measures in place to promote the licensing objectives. These conditions will also ensure the premises meets the necessary standard of control required, particularly in a residential area. It will ultimately be an enforcement issue for us in licensing if these conditions are imposed and subsequently not complied with, which could either result in prosecution or another review application being submitted. Looking at the review application and looking at the CCTV, I think sort of most importantly, these youth events have to stop as they have proven to be problematic and difficult to manage. I think as the police have pointed out, I've had meetings with Mr. Harris, and Mr. Harris will acknowledge and will accept this is the case, and he's already confirmed that they won't be happening in future. The conditions proposed will prohibit under 18s from attending the premises when there is regulated entertainment being played. However, the premises could still hold events for 18-year-olds. I don't think you can tailor and restrict the license to cover all eventualities, but the license holders have to realise, should issues like this happen again, there will obviously be further consequences. You'll have noted I've asked for a condition to be attached to the license, which can only be applied at a review hearing. It will mean that any conditions related to regulated entertainment will be enforceable between 8 AM and 11 PM, where previously they wouldn't be. This is important to ensure the conditions proposed are enforceable at all times. I'd like to add a comment in relation to the CCTV that has just been shown. Clearly, this is not good viewing and probably raises more questions than answers. And I think we all need to remember, this is a residential area. We're not looking at Neath Town Centre, Station Road, or Wine Street. So what we saw in the CCTV was a residential area. I think on its own, CCTV seriously undermines the licensing objectives, and questions need to be raised on why the management team wasn't able to identify these hazards, particularly in relation to overcrowding, blocked fire escapes, or even locking doors. Also, questions need to be looked at why there wasn't sufficient age verification policies in place at the time. These events seems to be controlled by people perhaps not associated with the club. They mentioned in the CCTV there that they were sort of technically rented the room. However, they are still using the Neath Limited or Neath FC Limited license. So we need to make sure that was there any due diligence done, do the license holders actually inform the people who are renting the room what their responsibilities are. I believe the conditions proposed by the police are proportionate and should ensure the premises reaches a necessary standard of control, not to undermine the licensing objectives in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Diolch yn fawr. I will now ask the Environmental Health Officer to please make their submissions. Diolch.
Good morning, Board, Chair and everyone else in attendance. I'm here today for Neath Talbot Environmental Health. I'm going to make the submission briefly summarising and going through the statement that I've made. I hope everyone's had a chance to go through it and take a look at the conditions we've outlined. We believe they're appropriate in response to some of the issues regarding nuisance arising from this premises. So just to go through the statement, the Environmental Health Department of Neath Talbot County Borough Council support this application to review the licence of Neath Football Club. We recommend the conditions listed at the bottom of the document be added to the licence on the grounds of prevention of public nuisance. I reference the Institute of Acoustics Good Practice Guide and the control of noise from pubs and clubs to give you a brief indication of what is expected in terms of good practice from this type of premises. You note that noise inside noise-sensitive properties, loud music, and the inaudibility, especially in residential areas, are noted. I've also outlined an image demonstrating a 50-metre radius around the actual premises. I make this as a note in relation to Mr. Schumacher's submission in the witness statement with regards to how far away some of these recordings and some of the noted breaches or witness of nuisance has been actually away from the premises, demonstrating how loud it was in the premises to be heard at that distance. So there are roughly 23 residential properties and a residential care facility within 50 metres of the premises. The club has two main entrances to the front and rear. The local authority Environmental Health Department have received 17 formal complaints since May 2021. All complaints relate to loud music emanating from the premises affecting complainants within their properties. There are also repeated references to antisocial behaviour from patrons, amplified music in the rear beer garden, and noise arising from car stereo systems from patrons attending the premises. Officers of this department undertook an investigation in relation to complaints. During one visit to the premises, evidence demonstrating loud amplified music emanating from Neath Football Club was sufficient to cause statutory nuisance. The videos of this have been submitted. Following this visit, an abatement notice was served on the 15th of September 2021 in accordance with Section 80 of the Environmental Protection Act. The abatement notice was not appealed and remains permanently in force. It is worth noting that during the course of the visit in which the officer identified this nuisance, an altercation which involved roughly a dozen males broke out from the rear beer garden, spilled into the street. There was actually 2 males having a fist fight on the bonnet of the car in front of the officer. The department operates proactive inspections of licensed premises within the area in order to ensure compliance with all active notices. During one of these proactive visits, I attended High Street Neath on the 8th of April 2022 at 11:20. There were 15 to 20 people congregating outside. The music volume was excessive within the street, within the front door to the premises closed. The music was even louder each time the door was opened. The bass thudding was audible at around 100 metres up the road. Patrons were leaning on the front walls of neighbouring properties in High Street Neath. Patrons were also being loud outside the front door. I could not see any door staff at this time, nor any staff in general. I attended the following day on the 9th of April 2022 at 11:10. The music wasn't as loud as the previous night, though clearly audible in the street outside. However, the front door to the premises was left open after 11 o'clock, demonstrating a further lack of management in the control of noise coming out the premises. On the 14th of April 2022, Peter Marlowe and I conducted a joint visit to Neath Football Club. The purpose of the visit was to address ongoing issues relating to noise and antisocial behaviour relating to the premises. Upon our arrival, we met with the DPS, Mr. John Harris, and several other staff members. The staff insisted the premises was fully soundproofed. Upon inspecting the premises, I noticed there was a fixed sound system complete with hardwired speakers throughout the building. There's also some level of sound attenuation that had been installed within the building, such as a second layer of double glazed windows. Upon further inspection, I noticed there was a mixing table and speakers, and independent of the hardwired sound system. Mr. Harris outlined at that time that the equipment belonged to the resident DJ, who frequently would put on entertainment for that premises, and his equipment was actually left in the building. From these observations, I concluded that while staff could achieve a relative degree of control utilizing the fabric of the building and having a set volume for the hardwired speakers, the staff had a relatively low degree of control of the volume for base levels of acts performing in the premises. Furthermore, any sound attenuation afforded by the fabric of the building was compromised upon the front or rear door being opened. Given the location of the club in a semi-rural town on a residential street, the only way to prevent live music from creating a noise nuisance would be to have a significantly high degree of managerial control. I outlined these issues to staff, at which point they expressed they would be uncomfortable intervening in visiting live acts in order to reduce volume levels. I'd also note we can, as noted in the footage demonstrated earlier, the level of managerial control that we've seen in relation to the premises has not been has been on par with the footage. It's never been demonstrated to show that they have taken significant steps in actually reducing the amplified music from the building or disorder coming from patrons. Whilst at the premises, I discussed several issues, including antisocial behaviour around the beer garden, and noise arising from car stereo systems from people interacting with patrons. At this point, I stressed that the premises required SIA licence officers in order to prevent further disruption to neighbouring premises. Mr. Harris repeatedly outlined the difficulties in acquiring SIA licensed personnel on a regular basis. Further to this, on the 9th of September 2022, several complaints outlined that most events within Neath Football Club were now being hosted in another premises. Prior to this, we were receiving quite regular interactions whenever an event was hosted from a number of complainants demonstrating that there was a frequent ongoing issue. Following this, the sentiment from our complainants was that most events were no longer being held at the premises. So where the frequency of the issue reduced because there weren't as many events going on there, the issues still persisted whenever the events were being hosted. Despite the reduced activity, we still receive complaints in relation to the premises whenever private functions are put on. On the 18th and 25th of November 2023, my colleague Ryan Schumacher attended the area to proactively investigate ongoing complaints regarding noise nuisance and amplified music. You can see my Exhibit 4 with regards to his witness statement. This clearly demonstrates that the issues regarding loud amplified music being audible outside residential properties is still ongoing. In conclusion, after several complaints were made to the Environmental Health Department, following an investigation, a Section 80 abatement notice was served on Neath Football Club in relation to statutory noise nuisance. Despite this notice being in place, there has been no perceivable improvement to either the volume levels of noise emanating from the premises or managerial controls in place to prevent noise affecting nearby residential properties. Though the frequency at which the club hosts events seems to decrease since our initial investigation, our recent site visits illustrate that the nuisance from the premises is still an ongoing issue. And to that, I've outlined a number of conditions. I hope everyone's been able to see the amended version in regards to what we believe would be necessary in the prevention of public nuisance from activities arising from this premises. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you very much. I will now invite the licence holder to make their submissions. So, Mr. Harris.
I'm not the licence holder for one, Chris Footers. A few things I want to. Do I start from the start with the police report?
Sorry. Yeah, can we just clarify your position with...
I'm the main director of the company.
Okay.
Do I go from the start for any questions I want to ask for the police report?
Yeah, just to confirm, the license is held by Neath Town Football Club.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you are a director of that company. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So therefore the license holder. Yeah.
Right.
Just to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Diolch.
So there's a few questions with the police report. The 15-year-old girl that reported the cardiac arrest. None of that was actually true. She didn't have a cardiac arrest. There was rumours going around the morning after on social media that the girl had died outside our premises. The girl in question never got in our premises. She was turned away at the door and a bottle of vodka confiscated off her. The mother of the 15-year-old actually came up to the premises the day after to apologise to us. So, to me, that's totally irrelevant. If you've got contacts with the girls, I'm sure you have from the report, you can check with the mother. And from what I see myself, there's no actual evidence of anyone drinking underage inside the premises from the video shown. Anyone asked if they were old enough for outside, and a large percentage of them have said that they were ID'd or wasn't served inside. So I can't see how we can have them saying that we were serving underage inside. On the camera footage, every time it's been requested, Nick Bailey has asked me a few times, so has Peter Marlowe in meetings, and I've told her myself, the camera's there, you can have access to it whenever you want to. The time in November, I had a meeting with Peter and Nick, and I think it was from the 27th of October event. Our camera footage stays on file for 1 month, which they were fully aware of. 3 days before the month was up, I had a request to have the camera footage. Now, Nick and Peter were both fully aware I was going to Paris on the day before that, the date they sent it. Subsequently, to watch the football, it was Newcastle and Paris, which we had a conversation over. Now, it took Nick Bailey 3.5 weeks to send me a request for the footage, knowing that there was only about 3 or 4 days left to access it, and knowing fully well that I was not even in the country during the time he sent the request. So again, I don't feel that's fair. If they wanted the footage, then surely it should have been made a priority and sent within 5 to 10 days so that I had plenty of time to know what to do with it. And if I had any problems, how to send it, I could have asked the question. With the noise coming from the building is soundproofed. I get with the door open, that noise does escape. We are looking into putting the door swings open to, I don't know what it's called, but so when the door's open, it automatically closes, kind of thing. I'm putting locks on the windows downstairs. But I would just like to say that I agree with the events being out of control 100%, like I said in the videos to the police officers. On the both events that got out of control, it was a ticketed event. I think the first one we sold about 20 to 25 tickets beforehand. So then opened it up to pay on the door, thinking we'd have 100 people maximum. And the first time, I can't remember how many turned up, I think it was about 300 or 400. The second, the same kind of thing. Naivety on our behalf. It's the first time I've run a business or run anything like this. So, like I say, it's been a steep learning curve over the last 3 years. And although maybe they don't feel, every meeting I have had with Nick and Peter, I have taken on board and tried to implement changes they've suggested. Whether it's been successful is another question. But like I say, I'm open to the changes on the license, because personally I think if anything will help us as a business to run and set guidelines of what we can do and what we can't do, which would be massively beneficial to us. The DJ events has been stopped as of the 27th of October. We've not done any more. We got signs up all over the place now. Only 18 or over allowed. We are a football club. We have 3 teams football, aging from 16 up to about 55. So after game of the Saturday, there are 16, 17-year-olds in there. But then they're asked to leave by 7, 8 o'clock. Not served alcohol. And there are signs up around the building now everywhere. If any of you would like to visit to see that over 18s only. And be prepared to be asked for ID at the bar. If there's any questions anyone would like to have for me, and I'm open to answering. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Harris. So what we'll do now is we will go to questions, and I'll start with the Legal Regulatory Manager, Mr. Chappell.
Thank you, Chair. Can I come to you first, Mr. Harris?
Yep.
Obviously, you've read the report in detail. That's right, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. You've heard the detail the police have submitted. You've watched the body-worn video footage that members have seen at the hearing today. And I did hear you accepted that at the events that were shown, you accept that things got out of control there.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll accept that what we saw in that body-worn video footage wasn't really a well-run premises.
No, but in relation to that, a large percentage of what you've seen in there, none of them got inside. We stopped them entering the building. That's why there were so many people outside.
Okay. The comment you made towards the end of your submissions was about accepting what you'd seen in the report about the changes to the license. So the proposals that have been put on the table by the police, firstly. There's a number of conditions which you've read through, starting at section 93, then running through to the end of the police submissions. Are you saying that you would accept those conditions in their entirety?
There is one with the noise effect, where like an acoustics report. Now, I'm to the understanding that would cost thousands. We're not in a position to be able to do that. So when I mentioned with I don't know what it's called, with a door where if you get on the front door, so if it's open, it'll close immediately. Locks on the windows, as a cheaper alternative then, basically, to prevent sound escaping.
Okay, thank you for that. Just on the police representation, the police have put a load of conditions in.
Yeah.
Do not forget about the noise ones for a second.
Right.
Just on the police conditions, are you
They
happy
go
with
over it.
those?
What the conditions are. I have read it, but just to clarify, just go over and brief what the conditions are, please.
Chair, shall I ask the police to go through those conditions rather than myself?
Yeah. Yes, if you could, please, if the police could come in and give those conditions.
Thank you.
Okay, if I go through what I've handed the amended ones this morning. Okay, the following conditions will be added or proposedly added. No customers carrying open or with like sealed bottles or glasses will be admitted to the premises at any time. No customers will be permitted to take open, sealed bottles or glasses out of the premises. There shall be no admittance or readmittance to the premises for 45 minutes before the last permitted hours. A challenge 25 policy will apply and proof of age will be required from any person who appears to be under the age of 25 years who attempts to purchase or consume alcohol. The means of verification should be in a form of identification which bears their photograph, date of birth, and a holographic mark, and should be restricted to pass, which is accredited proof of age scheme, e.g. a citizen's card, proof GB, photo card, driving license, or passport. Signage shall be displayed in a prominent position within the premises, informing of the Challenge 25 policy. A digital CCTV system shall be installed or existing system maintained at the premises, which will be operational at all times when the premises is open to the public and capable of providing pictures, photographs of evidential quality in all lighting conditions, particularly facial identification. The CCTV recordings must be correctly timed, dated and stamped and retained for a period of 31 days and made available for viewing by the police and or authorised officers of the council on request. The system must provide coverage of the following areas: the exterior perimeter of the premises, the entrance and exits to the premises, and the interior public area of the premises. A staff member from the premises who is conversant with the operation of the CCTV system shall be on the premises at all times when the premises is open to the public. This staff member must be able to provide the police and or authorised officers of the council copies of the CCTV recordings, including footage, image and or data in a recordable format, either to a USB and or online evidence facility and or a disk. Any and all CCTV recordings shall be made available immediately for viewing on request from the police and or authorised officers of the council, and a copy must be supplied within 120 hours or 5 days following a lawful request. An anti-drugs policy agreed with the police must be implemented and in operation at all times whilst the premises is open to the public. The premises licence holder and or nominated person will install and maintain a secure drugs drop safe in accordance with the police requirements. Provision is made for random searches and drug testing procedures of patrons in accordance with the police requirements. Whenever regulated entertainment is provided at the premises, a minimum of 2 SIA registered door supervisors will be on duty from 30 minutes before the advertised start time of the entertainment and until 30 minutes after the end of the regulated entertainment. At all other times, the premises licence holder and or a nominated person will risk assess the need for door supervisors and provide door supervision between such times and in such numbers as is required by the risk assessment. A written document will be retained and provided to police and or authorised officers of the council on request. A daily register of security personnel, if used, will be maintained. The register shall show the name, address and licence number of each door supervisor and the date and time that they operate. The register must be kept for inspection by the police and or authorised officers of the council. The premises licence holder and or nominated person shall ensure that all SIA registered door supervisors will wear conspicuous clothing which identifies them as such. The SIA registered door supervisor shall display their SIA licence in a reflective armband whilst on duty. When the regulated entertainment is provided, the premises licence holder shall operate and maintain a suitable counting system to monitor the number of persons entering and exiting the premises to ensure that the maximum capacity is not exceeded. The premises shall maintain a log of all incidents occurring at or in the vicinity of the premises. This log will include details of any disorder, assaults, theft, possession, supply of illegal substances, and persons ejected or refused entry to the premises. The log shall record the date and time of the incident, personnel involved and reporting the incident, action taken, and, where appropriate, the outcome of the incident. This must be kept available for inspection by the police and or authorised officers of the council at all reasonable times. All entries in the incident log must be made prior to premises staff, including SIA door staff, leaving the premises, and the incident log must not be removed from the premises. The included log must not be removed from the premises other than by police and or authorised officers of the council. All windows and external doors shall be kept closed after 2100 hours or at any time when regulated entertainment takes place, except for the immediate access and egress of persons. The premises licence holder and or a nominated person shall cooperate with the police in carrying out any crime reduction or detection operations and or in connection with the premises. For example, use of drugs detection dogs, drug itemiser, etc. No persons under the age of 18 shall be permitted to enter the premises when regulated entertainment is taking place. And lastly, the premises licence holder or nominated person will, at the end of each calendar month, provide copies of the incident book and refusal logs to the police on request.
Thank you very much. If we go back to Mr. Chapo.
Okay, thank you for that. So back to you, Mr. Harris. Now that you've heard all those conditions in detail, are you content for those conditions to be attached to your licence?
Majority of them, yes. The SIA licence is to have them to come to an event. They won't come on their own, they'll only come in twos, which is paid around £15–16 per hour. And about 90% of the time, we don't have over 50 or 60 people come to the event, any events, which going forward, like I said, since October, there's no DJ events. So all we have now is a live singer or a band, which very rarely do we get over 50 or 60 people, which we couldn't afford to get the SIA bar staff on. And alongside that, it's like gold dust together. You can't get SIA license holders to come to a village pub. They're limited to what you can get. Everything else on the thing I would agree on. But
Okay.
with the SIA license, it wouldn't be justifiable for us.
Okay, thank you. So I made a note of that and for members' information, just so the conditions are fine apart from the one on the SIA door staff. That's the only one that you would have an issue with.
Everything else I'm happy with. Like I said, I think it'd benefit us to have the structure there to carry on running as a business and making it successful. So, yeah.
Okay, and then just moving on to the conditions that were suggested by the environmental health officer. Now these are the ones in respect of noise. You've had a chance to. There were 7 of these. You've had a chance to read these.
Yeah, it's the one where they like the acoustic checks done in there. And from what I understand, it'll cost thousands to get that done. And we're in no way in a position as a business to be able to afford it. Because our pub business, as you probably know, with all pubs at the moment, they're all struggling, especially this time of year. We basically, month to month, with the bills and everything, We got no pot in the background, which we can afford to splash out on things. We are basically month to month with our bills and keeping afloat then, if you know what I mean.
Okay, so looking at the conditions, they're on page 56 of the report. It would be condition 3 relating to the independent acoustic consultant's report, and then condition 4 that relates to condition 3 in relation to the noise limiting device. Are they the conditions that you wouldn't be acceptable of?
Yeah, like I said, if we looked at the cheaper options, like I said, with a door which automatically slams shut, locks on the windows, and in the police report itself there, it says that all doors and windows be shut from, was it 9 o'clock, 2100 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if I just move on then, so the majority of those conditions that Mr. Harris is agreeable to, if I come to the police, then just to ask, happy to impose a lot of those conditions apart from the SIA door staff. Any comments on that particular condition?
Yeah, I don't really want to compromise on this. We've seen what can happen at the premises if there are no SIA. I think we need one to work the door and one to deal with any incidents which may occur. So I wouldn't like to compromise on that.
Thank you. And just over to Environmental Health Officer, in relation to conditions 3 and 4, so this is the acoustics report and the linking of that, so the noise limiter. Ms. Harris wouldn't be content with those. Is there any comments you wish to make on those particular conditions?
With regards to the conditions and Mr. Harris's comments, the building's not soundproofed. It has a level of sound insulation. There's measures in place to attenuate the noise using the fabric of the building. That is not soundproofed. There will be a decibel level that the equipment can generate that will be below what can be audible at a certain distance outside the premises, giving a certain scenario. That's before you consider things like base, mid and high frequency penetration through the fabric of buildings. That's before you consider the variation in the positioning of speakers. So in terms of just the comment that the building would be soundproofed, it has a level of soundproofing, but it is by no means does it prevent sound from leaving the building. The necessity for a noise impact assessment to inform the provisions required is that the level of disturbance that's experienced by nearby residents can only be actually assessed when you consider the sound power output of the actual equipment, the background sound level when considered over a certain period of time, and the impact that actually has on that basis. Without the noise impact assessment, you wouldn't actually be able to set any reasonable level because you wouldn't actually know what your equipment's doing or what the actual sound climate is for the residential area which your pub finds itself in. So I believe the conditions are essential in ensuring that the nuisance previously demonstrated by Annex 3 of my submission, the abatement notice served, in ensuring compliance and there isn't further public nuisance from this premises. I believe the conditions are actually essential.
Okay, thanks for that. And just staying on you for one more question, just for members' benefit. If members were to impose all those conditions you've requested on the license, you'd be satisfied that the premises could operate and hopefully wouldn't then cause a nuisance?
Yes.
And the police, the same question. So if all the conditions were applied to the license as requested, you'd be happy that the incidents that we've seen there would be negated?
It would certainly be a step in the right direction, and obviously would be subject to visits and possible enforcement if any breaches, but I would be comfortable with those conditions.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chappell. So now questions from the applicant, which is the police.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say, Mr. Harris, you mentioned in relation to the CCTV and Nick Bailey, you seem to be questioning his integrity, which I take exception with. You know, if you feel he's done something untoward, please make a complaint in the official manner and not to bring it up in this forum. So yeah, I just
Please-
want to get that point across to you.
Please don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that whatsoever. All I said was what actually happened. So please do not twist my words. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think you said that Nick waited 3.5 weeks before he approached you for footage. We have documented that 5 occasions you have been asked for CCTV, 5 occasions we've not received them, hence why we're insisting on a CCTV condition in the new license if it's granted to you.
Yeah. On the 5 occasions, I've had meetings with Peter and Nick all the times that this happened. I actually arranged to meet the PCSO there. I can't remember the local PCSO, which was arranged by Nick Bailey on one of the occasions, and the PCSO didn't turn up for it. The other times, I've told Nick to have access to the cameras whenever he wants to, which I'm sure he will clarify that. I'm not very tech savvy with the cameras. I got the app on my phone. The last time, which was in November, I had an email request, which Nick said he was going to do, an email request to download the footage and forward it on, which is the one that was left 3.5 weeks to do when there's only 31 days footage on the camera.
Yeah, thank you. I think the fact that you're not tech savvy really highlights the need really, and one of the conditions that we've proposed is for someone who can work the CCTV to be present at all times. I've got nothing further to ask you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just add one, well, please?
Sorry, Mr. Harris, is it in relation to the questions that the police have asked?
Yeah, it's the noise level ones.
Okay, no, what we'll do is you will have your opportunity to ask questions at the given time.
Right.
Okay, so just keep a note of that question because now we're going to move on to the legal regulatory officer to ask their questions, please.
Yep.
Thank you, Chair. Only a couple. As Mr. Harris has alluded to, I've met with him, Nick and I, as well as Callum on several occasions. And Jonathan or Mr. Harris, you'd accept those meetings have been sort of quite constructive, sort of try to advise you on what sort of best practice to try and sort of ensure that the premises is operated properly.
Yeah.
And just in relation to the sort of comments in regards to the sort of CCTV, yeah, I've been up there. I've sort of seen the CCTV on Mr. Harris's phone. We have had sort of conversations about him going away on the holiday, but Nick was obviously in the process of producing a review application at that time as well. But 2 other questions. One, if you're accepting these conditions are going to be attached to the license, you understand that they've got to be complied with at all times?
Yes, totally, yeah.
And in relation to you renting the rooms out, if that's going to be happening in future, will you ensure that whoever's renting the rooms out is aware of the conditions?
Like I said to you and Nick, Pete, when we met last time, DJ events won't be happening again.
Yeah, just want to make sure sort of that's what's sort of being said now, but sort of when the summer comes or sort of next year when sort of things die down a bit, just want to make sure that, yeah, if you are putting on any types of event, and they don't necessarily need to be for 16, 17-year-olds, you can have dance events for 18, 19-year-olds that can cause sort of similar issues as well. So it's just making sure that you understand what each condition means, and that you have the processes in place to make sure that they're complied with.
Yeah, like I said, it won't be happening. The stress this has caused myself over the last couple of months is unbearable. Like Christmas time, I had a meeting with him, I think it was end of November time, was it middle of November? And I had the emails out for this meeting just before Christmas. I don't think I've had more than 2 hours sleep all over Christmas and January. So it's, like I said, I can't wait to get these in place so that we can move on and hopefully run it as a successful business and without upsetting any people local.
Because I think where there have been failures, you've got to accept that there's got to be some sort of consequence. We can't just sort of keep having sort of constructive meetings where you're trying to make sure that you are operating properly. So the results, particularly of the October events and November events, were in this committee because of the way those events were managed. So as long as you're happy that you understand and realise how important the conditions are, I haven't got any further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now questions from the Environmental Health Officer.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Harris, I just have some comments with regards, some questions with regards to the comments you made previously regarding the building being soundproofed. Could you please elaborate with regards to what degree of soundproofing you believe the building has?
We leased the building, and the ones we leased it off has told us it's soundproofed. I don't technically know how it's soundproofed. Like you alluded on earlier, I know it's double glazed, 2 layers of windows. But technically, you know, I don't know myself how it's soundproofed.
Do you or your staff conduct spot checks when you have music events on to see what the levels are outside the building?
Yep, from advice of Peter Mallow last year, what we do on events is I have one of the staff to walk around the perimeter of the building every 1 hour, just to check that no noise is escaping at a level which wouldn't be nice for the neighbours, basically.
So just to come back, so you've seen my full submission, or the Environmental Health Department's full submission with regards to the repeated instances. We've been to the premises, noted the noise up to 100 meters up the road at an unacceptable level over the course of the last 2 to 3 years. It's just with regards to the building being soundproofed, you would accept that the soundproofing isn't sufficient for the level of or the volume of the music being played within the premises in these instances?
Yeah, where the noise levels, like when yourselves have been there, it's always been with the DJ events, which with the bands and singers playing, we actually set the level for them by our ear. Then so one of us go outside, and if it's too loud, we tell the band to stay down. The DJ events, I don't know whether it's the DJs are not complying, but they always seem to, if we tell them to turn it down, we check the levels and they turn it up or whatever. But like I said, going forward, them DJ events ain't happening, which I feel would eradicate 99.9% of all problems we have there.
Okay, just one more question with regards to the SIA licensed officers whenever you, or security, whenever you have events on. It's something we noted, me and Peter Marlowe noted and discussed with you in the visit we conducted in 2022 regarding the necessity for security for certain types of events. With regards to the types of disorder that you've witnessed today in relation to the police submission, would you not agree that some additional level of security for both the front and the rear of the premises would be advisable with regards to the events as they've taken place previously?
For the events that's happened?
Yeah, those type of events in general.
Yep, 100% agree. But like I said, previous them nights, we'd only sold about 20 tickets and didn't expect more than 80 to 100 people to each event. So how we got out of control like that, I do not know. Social media is a dangerous tool. It's also a very good tool running a business. But like I said, is the only problems you have with the overcrowding or people turning up where unexpectedly is the DJ events, which I'll nail on again, will not be happening anymore.
So with regards to the comments, it was outlined that the capacity of the building was 150 people. Is that your understanding?
That's my guesstimate. There's no actual capacity with it. I've never been given a capacity for the building.
I'm just trying to gather at what capacity you'd think it'd be appropriate to have SIA licensed officers or security actually attend the event.
Or any event over 100 people, I'd look to have SIA license holders, but we won't have any events over 100 people if we're not doing the DJ events.
All right, thank you for answering my questions.
There's another thing I'd like to add, please. I know that we have had complaints before on noise from local residents. I'm sure Peter can back me up on this, where about a year ago, we had a complaint for a Saturday night about 10 o'clock for noise complaints from our place, when in fact we were closed from 8 o'clock. We compete with a local pub up the road, which is The Rock. And if they have a band on or something on, we tend to not put something on, and vice versa. The night in question, where we had to report the complaint, we had a noise complaint for, I think it was around 10:15 in the night. Our building was closed, all in darkness from 8 o'clock, nobody outside. And I remember showing the footage to Nick and Peter. The lady, which I presume has complained, actually came into our pub the first week we were open in November 2020. Come into our pub when one of our staff was working, intoxicated, went up to the bar, started screaming at her, saying that I'm going to keep complaining until this place is closed down. You're not running a pub opposite my house. So I'd just like to put that in there, that we have had a lot of complaints where I've found out to be not true.
Okay, we'll move on then to questions from yourself then, Mr. Harris. So any questions that you have?
No, like I said, I just want to thank you all, and I would welcome the changes on the licence to give us a bit of structure going forward. And I just want to reassure everyone in attendance that the DJ events, which they say causes 99% of the problems, will not be happening going forward. And like I say, myself and Chris, we want to work alongside the licensing, the police, and make it a successful business going forward.
Just to point out, this is your opportunity now. I know a few times I've had to stop you when you had questions. This is your opportunity to ask all questions, just to confirm that that's all of your questions at this point.
Yep, I believe so.
Yeah, because you won't have an opportunity to come back with any further questions.
No, I think that's it.
I can see there's an indication. Yeah, Mr. Mallock.
Yeah, so I did have just one other question. It was just in relation to Chris Foot. The police have made a request for him to be removed as the DPS. One, Jonathan, were you aware of that? And then, sort of two, have you got a replacement lined up?
I know you and Nick did mention that to me. What kind of time frame would that be? Would that be instant or?
Well, I think that would be a matter for the committee. I think the police have asked for his removal. But yeah, of course, that's something that will be the committee will consider. Have you got anybody in place at the moment with a personal license?
I haven't got it, but I could apply for it.
So you haven't got a personal license yourself. Obviously, applying for one can take weeks.
I know that's right. Would there be a time frame on it for me to get mine in place before they actually removed Chris from it? Would that be something to look at?
Yeah, that'll be a consideration for the committee when they're making their determination. But I just wanted to see if make sure that you were aware that was a something that was being proposed, and if there was somebody else that you had in mind to take over. So at the moment, that you've got nobody there that's going to take on that role.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, could I bring in Mr. Chappell, please?
Yeah, just to clarify for members and for Mr. Harris, if the committee determined to remove Mr. Foote as the DPS, then that would be the decision taken. You would have a right of appeal against that decision of 21 days. So the effect of his removal wouldn't take place until 21 days' time. Once that had that time period elapsed, if you hadn't appealed, then effectively the premises wouldn't be able to sell alcohol until a new designated premises supervisor was in place. So essentially, if that decision was made today, it would be a period of 21 days. But if you didn't appeal the decision, obviously if you did appeal, then that period would be extended until the appeal is heard.
Great. Yep.
Okay, and then we'll move on to questions from the subcommittee members, please. Any questions? Okay, Councillor Paterson.
David Harris, sorry, beg your pardon, Mr. Harris. You say that you would be happy to run the business if these conditions were attached to the license. You're perfectly at liberty to impose these yourself. You don't have to have somebody from the licensing department to tell you to have to do them. If you think they were a good idea, why haven't you done that?
We have tried implementing them. Like I said, all of our problems come from the DJ nights, and like I've mentioned a few times now, that we've stopped doing them. We won't be doing them going forward. And I can't express enough that all our problems, I think sure Peter will agree, who I met with a few times, that all our problems come from these DJ events.
Okay, and how much reliance are you financially on these special nights? If you stopped doing them, would you consider that you wouldn't be able to run the business profitably?
No, I wouldn't say so. No, like we've started trying other things. Like we've got 3 dartboards put up in the place. Yesterday we had a darts tournament. We had about 25-30 people enter a darts tournament. So we're just trying different avenues, if you know what I mean. Like we got acoustic singers coming on, acoustic guitars, bands. So we're trying different avenues where we're not having as many people there, but it is still justifiable to run the business with what we're doing rather than doing the DJ events. Yeah.
What about the acoustic attenuation for the actual building? You were sort of telling us that really that's not affordable for you.
Yeah. From what I've gathered, it will cost thousands to do it. We're not in a position to be able to afford thousands, if you know what I mean. I don't know if there's a could speak to Callum and Peter and come up with something more affordable for us.
Okay, and the door staff that you know, you're not going to be running any events that would require door staff because you can't afford the door staff or can't get them.
Bit of both, really. Like I say, if we do have any private function, like I don't know, a 50th birthday party or something like that, then when I had a meeting with Peter and Nick, they advised me that for a 50th birthday party, the likelihood is you wouldn't need SIA door staff anyway. But the only events where we're going to have that kind of people turning up is like 50th birthday parties or like our football presentation end of the year, where we probably have 80 to 100 people, where again it's a sit down meal, a football presentation where SIA door staff wouldn't be needed then, in my opinion.
Okay. What staff resources are you going to be putting in place to deal with all these extra conditions?
Obviously, to have all the conditions lined out, get the license. I'll put a training day in with all the staff just to go over what's been implemented, and we'll have a team brief for them all and maybe come up with ideas from them as well, which can help us along the way of complying with it all.
May I carry on? You mentioned that one lady complained, or you think it was that one lady that complained, and then she came up and you...
Yeah.
Right, okay. What other complaints have you received? Do you make a log?
We don't know. I don't know hardly any of the complaints. Like I say, they all come through when I hear from Peter or Nick, and they're anonymous complaints.
Okay.
They're not, but as for actual complaints to the place itself, people come into I don't have any.
You don't get any complaints to your business from members of the public?
Not personally.
Direct to you? Do you think there might be a reason for that?
We're very open with the neighbours. Like I say, myself and Chris have been on the neighbours before, asking them if there's any problems and speaking to them. That I've given them all my phone number, my personal number. So if there's any problems, they can get in touch with me. But no, I don't think there's any issue there.
Okay, what about contact with your local councillor? Do they get complaints that they forward on to you?
No, nothing I'm aware of, no.
You haven't had any, or that they haven't contacted you?
They haven't contacted me, or I haven't had any both.
Okay. To do with the knife, how did that get there?
I reported that. It was found under the toilets in the pub. There's like a board that comes off. When the boys fell against it, the board came off. I noticed like a little dagger. So first thing I done, don't touch it, put it in the safe out the way. We put it in the safe. I contacted PCSO Andrew Jones, and he come to collect it. There was rumours of whose it was. The boy was actually on the run from the police at the time. Or let out on bail, one of the two. But after chasing up what happened to it, they just disposed of it because they couldn't get no evidence.
The question to you was, how did it get there?
No idea.
So a knife of 6-inch length, somebody can just get that in and hide it?
But I can't see, how would I prevent that?
I'm not asking you how you could prevent it. I'm asking you how it got there, and were there any checks?
Well, no, obviously someone's come in. That was found on like a Thursday evening or something.
Have we lost him entirely, or just on camera?
Hello, my back.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Oh yeah,
that's all right. It's okay.
Yeah, that was on like Thursday evening or something like that. That was found, and there was about 8 people in the place. So I can't see. Should we be searching people on a Thursday evening?
I'm not asking you that. I'm just saying, in your opinion, it's your property. How do you think it got there?
Obviously, someone's carried it in and stashed it there.
And with regards to the spill out from your property onto the roads, do you have any apologies to make to the public?
Any apologies?
Yeah.
We have several times.
How?
Personally, gone to the actual premises of the people.
What, the whole area?
The ones surrounding the area, yeah.
Okay. And what was their response?
Very good. Like the ones next door. To have you been to the place?
Nope.
So at the back you got a lane, and then the first house bed, which I would say is the closest to the premises.
Mm-hmm.
The lady that lives there passed away 2 weeks ago. The wake for her funeral is in our place tomorrow, which we've always had a good relationship with them. The ones next door again, Mr. Challenger, again, brilliant relationship. Third door up, never had any issues. There seems to be the one on the end house. I'm not sure the gentleman's name, but he has my number. I spoke with him several times and asked him if there's ever any problems to contact me. He never has. Opposite the front of the building, there are two ladies who live there. One is Mrs. McNicholas, who is over the pub regular and always backing us. Should there be any social media posts about our place or anything like that, she's very positive, so is her neighbour. So I would say around the area, around our pub, is about 80% of the neighbours are, what's the word, on our side then, if you know what I mean.
You're very lucky, because from what I've seen, I wouldn't be one of those 80%.
Yeah, but that's the ones you've seen, only 2 occasions, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's the point. The point is that the police have been called to those events. What events are happening when the police are not being called to?
Yeah, but not out of control like that. The events the police haven't been called to, we probably had about 50 people there.
And what actions did you take after those events to take ownership of what went wrong?
Like I said, we went out to see all the neighbours to apologise. We tried to put stuff in place. Like I think the first video we seen was 17th of February.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one was 27th of October. What's that? That's 8 months in between.
Okay.
So, like, we didn't have any issues in between there. The October one, I don't know, maybe a bit of naivety on our behalf that we thought the, what do you call it, like, how popular the place was, it died down a bit. So we advertised the event. Only sold about 20, 25 tickets beforehand. And subsequently ended up having, like I said in the video, about 400 people turn up.
Right. I just want to make you understand one thing about the subcommittee is that it's not our business to look into whether or not you can afford anything and whether or not the business would be viable if we impose conditions or not. We are here just to see to the protection of the public, of the youth, of the disturbance, and maybe even police officers, because what I've seen today on those videos has been a right eye opener to me. So we need you to assure us, and thus far I'm not getting the feeling that you are taking real ownership of what has happened, even when you sublease to an event.
Councillor.
To say that, well, I'm not there.
Councillor.
Sorry.
Oh. Can we limit it to questions, please, rather than statements?
Okay, right.
Thank you.
So I change it to a question then.
Please, Councillor, I'd be grateful.
Okay. Are you taking ownership of the events, even though you say in the future there won't be any, of the, when you sublease, you are still responsible?
Of course I have. Like I said, we accepted that the place got out of control. We've stopped anything happening going forward. We've been to apologise to the neighbours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here this morning. I haven't denied anything. I haven't got defensive. I haven't backed up to say, no, this didn't happen. We didn't do this. I've come on here and accepted that I'm happy for the conditions to change on the licence so that we got a bit of structure. I know you said why haven't we implemented them before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, look, I said, like I said earlier, the stress has caused me the last 2 or 3 months. I want it done out the way, new licence on there, follow that structure and go forward and run a business as successful as we can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay, Councillor Henton.
Mr. Harris, I want to ask, with the upstairs of the property, I know obviously you've got the main stairs going up as we saw in the video, and there's at least one fire escape. Is that the only fire escape?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
And you've been running this business now for 3 years, I think you said earlier.
Yeah.
I'm rather concerned that you've been running this business for 3 years, and yet the only fire escape in the building was blocked, especially when an event that large is taking place. You know, as we saw, people exiting at the normal stairs, it was a snail's pace. If there was an emergency, there would have been an extremely serious incident in that building. And potentially even something of national scale because of how many was. Oh, sorry.
The fire exit, there's stairs going down, which the officer walked down comfortably. And then round the corner, there's we got a hoover and a mop bucket in front of the door. So that fire exit is clear. You could open that door and anyone could walk past that comfortably. The hoover and the mop bucket have moved now. We found a new area for that. We got a storage cupboard locked away in the toilets. So the fire exit route from the upstairs is totally clear, and the advice of Peter and Nick when I had a meeting with them in November.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? And then lastly, the legal advisor.
Thank you, Chair. Only a few questions. First to Legal Regulatory Services. Did you ever inform Mr. Foote that the premises staff could not check a customer's ID before entering the premises? I believe that was referred to in paragraph 33 of the application.
No, I think there was some confusion there, wasn't there, about which page is that on?
It's on page 10 and it's at paragraph 33.
It'd help for me to look at the actual agenda on the computer.
Apologies, there is paragraph 32 as well.
Yeah, no. I think our conversation was in relation to SAA sort of door supervisors.
Thank you. So it was effectively a miscommunication or misunderstanding. The next person, if I could just ask, the environmental health, please. When was the last time environmental health had a report of any noise nuisance at the premises, please?
With regards to complaints, I believe it was late last year, around November. I scheduled we do proactive visits for active notices, and we schedule the licensing complaints regarding noise from licensed premises in with the same visits. I would have received them in roughly October, November, and put it on the schedule, and then Mr. Schumacher attended.
Finally, it would be to Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris, do you think the in-house training which has been provided to staff has been adequate?
Probably not. Like I said, with the new license, so if it does get changed, I'll put a team training day in and get them all trained up on it. I'm a supervisor of about 35 to 40 people in my full-time job in work, so I'm fully aware of how to carry it out, and maybe, like, again, naivety on my part that I haven't done it in the past.
Thank you. Two further questions, Mr. Harris. Firstly, do you know how many licensing objectives there are?
From today, or?
No, how many licensing objectives there are?
I don't.
It's okay if you don't know.
No, I don't understand.
Okay. In respect of not the conditions which are on the premises, do you know how many licensing objectives under the Licensing Act 2003 there are?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Okay, thank you. And before we move on to summaries, can I just check that there are no further submissions or any further questions from anyone present? Councillor Paterson?
To the police, the chair. So, okay, yeah, thank you. It was very helpful to see the body camera. However, there's a lot of background noise and you can't actually hear what people are saying. Do you ever transcribe them?
We would do if.
You would do if that's
there was
okay.
evidence related to a court
Okay.
case, for example.
Maybe, I don't know, Chair, if you would, it may be helpful going forward, you know, if, because I'm straining to hear, and you can hear the gist, but if somebody professional is watching it and does actually write it down, it might be more helpful in future. And the other question was, how many officers were in attendance at the clip where we saw the officer going in and up the stairs? And do you know how many were in attendance?
I don't know how many were in attendance. What I can say is the officer on the bulk of the footage, PC Wallen, he's the neighbourhood beat manager for the area
Yeah.
and was the first responder.
Okay.
And obviously on his attendance, he decided that he needed
I'm not
help.
surprised.
Yeah, hence a request to out other areas for officers to
That takes time to get.
Yes.
Do you know how long it took?
Well, as he said, there was officers coming from Morriston and from Neath. They may have been engaged on other duties. It could have been a half hour or longer.
Quite a scary time then, really. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chair. That's.
Any further questions from anyone? Okay, diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much. There will now be an opportunity for the relevant parties to make a closing statement. The closing statement must not introduce any new information, nor will there be any further opportunities for questions. And I will be very strict on that. So if I could proceed in the following order. So the applicant, the police.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to stress the conditions my colleague read out. We are happy to endorse. In particular, the 2 SIA we feel is appropriate. We feel the removal of the DPS is appropriate, as Mr. Foote has presided over many of these adverse incidents. And finally, in relation to the point that Mr. Harris has just raised about training, I have some concerns if he decides to conduct the training. As he said, he's not a personal licence holder. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now on to the licensing officer. So over to Peter Malloch, please.
Thank you, Chair. I fully support the application made by the police. In my view, the conditions proposed will assist in promoting the licensing objectives. The conditions will ensure the licence holders have to reach a standard of control that is not only necessary, but actually essential for them to continue to operate. And you know, I'm happy with it, whatever decision is made today, to meet with the licence holders and go through the conditions to make sure there's no confusion and they understand exactly what is expected of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now on to the Environmental Health Officer.
I'm happy to support and an agreement with the conditions found necessary by the police as put to the committee. In regards to our own involvement with this premises, we've received numerous complaints over the last 3 years. The Environmental Health Department has conducted an investigation, found it necessary to serve a Section 80 abatement notice in relation to loud music. Despite this being in place, as evidenced by repeated visits, there are still noise issues arising from the premises. And with regards to a low level of managerial control in place for those incidents. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And then lastly, the licence holder. So Mr. Harris.
No, nothing from me. Like I say, just want to basically go forward and try and run a successful business with the new licence in place. So thank you.
Great. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much. Thank you also for attending. Agenda item 4 is urgent items. I have none. The committee will now retire for deliberations. Only members, the legal officer and democratic services officers will remain. So thank you all for attending and you will be notified of the outcome in due course. So diolch yn fawr pawb. Thank you all very, very much.